All right, hey guys, welcome to Diapers and DIY. We are mom and dad. We are a small, literal mom and pop real estate couple. We buy, sell, rent out properties for the last 7-ish years. We're not big money. We're kind of middle of the road, kind of not totally new at this, but also not totally experts. So yeah, we have room to learn with you guys. Subscribe to our channel if you're interested in that. Today we're going to be talking about auction math.
Yeah.
We just recently went to an auction, so we're going to get in depth into our spreadsheet with you guys and kind of explain how we come up with our max number of bidding. And what's interesting from this one in particular is that not only did we look at it as investors, but we also looked at it as potential buyers to live in there. So if you're looking at an auction to maybe purchase for yourself, or you want to dabble in perhaps making money from an auction, stay tuned for some auction math, and we hope that helps. So here is our spreadsheet. It's not as, it doesn't have all the information in it, like the square footage and the location for privacy reasons. But these are real numbers. This is basically what we were looking at. As you can see on the bottom here, it says it's like the copy of the tab, just so you guys could see our formulas. Everything that has a formula that you could kind of, get a different answer for, we put an F at the top. That's what those Fs are at the top. And then I don't even know where to start. Geez, where should we start?
Well, I really put these Fs here so I could drag the formulas down to make my life easier.
Right.
But let's start with, how we come to our numbers over here.
Yes.
Basically, what you can profit on one of these properties is based on two things. It's what you can sell it for and how much it's going to cost you to repair it. That's how you know what you can offer, to purchase said property. Now, with the auction, the math is a little bit different than if we were just to go ahead and buy a single family. And we'll get into more detail with that
in a different video. Yeah. We want to just do a brief wrap up of the auction math here, and then we'll go more into it later on, because it is a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So with this particular property, we ran some comps that's comparable properties that have been sold to see what the prices are. With a range in that general area for a similar property in a similar area, similar lot, and at least updated to the way that we would update it. And we got somewhere between 600,000 on the high end and 520 on the low end. Took the average being about 560, which sounds pretty close to what this area goes for.
Mm-hmm.
I peeked inside of the property. We couldn't get in beforehand. And I kind of took some notes. We used ChatGPT and Grok and stuff like that to sort of estimate repairs. I was very, very detailed in what I asked it, and it gave us somewhere around 125. We showed up to the auction, and we had our contractor with us, and he said it would be between $100,000 and $150,000. So this was pretty spot on.
Yeah.
And this is adjustable. I can change this number, as you could see in these other cells down here. And this is all for the same property, and it'll affect everything else. But essentially, we came in under the assumption of an after repair value of $560,000, a repair estimate of $125,000, right? Now, typically with a single family, people like to go for 70% of the after repair value. So that would be 560 times 0.7. And then you subtract 125, the repair, for that number to do your max offer. But since this is an auction, the closing costs are a bit different. You have to pay a 10% buyer premium.
Which is typical.
Which is typical for an auction. It's not typical for a traditional, real estate agent purchase.
Right.
For the real estate agent, it's going to be between 1 and 2, sometimes 3%. So on this side of this kind of deal, I factored in 11.5%. It would be the 10% for the buyer's premium and a little bit extra for the recording costs, the deed and the title and all that kind of the extra little stuff that goes along with it. And so the way I have it set up is our net purchase is going to be, we did 78% over here, not 70, because we're not financing. It's a little bit of a different deal.
Of the ARV.
Yeah, 78% of our ARV, and subtracted the repairs, and that gave us 311,800. So to include the closing costs being 11.5% of the max offer, I had to do a little bit of extra math. Most people just calculate like 70% of ARV minus repairs. That's your max offer. Then you get hit with closing costs and all that extra stuff. I wanted to profit more. So
And know exactly how much we're spending.
I want to know exactly how much we're making.
To the best of our ability.
To the best of our ability, yeah.
Yeah, because
so our net purchase is 311,800 with 32,000 in closing costs. About 280 is what goes to the seller. And with this, we are all in 484. So this is purchase, repairs, and what we call holding costs. That's utilities, property tax, insurance, prorated property tax, obviously, and prorated insurance. And we would have a return of about 15%, $75,000, right?
Which sounds good, but the government takes a big chunk out of that. So as an investor, if you're really just doing it to see money back, it may not be the best return after the government takes its chunk. You might be better off doing like a rental for those type of that type of return.
Yeah, and not to mention that you also have to pay $45,000 if we did get 560. You'd have to pay almost $45,000 to your selling agent, right? So that initially we came in with an offer thinking it's going to be $280,000. We're not married to that number. Maybe we feel like, oh, it's really good. Let's go 290 or 285 or whatever. But we went in thinking it's going to be a 125 repair and it's going to be 280 purchase, and that'll make us this $75,000, 15%. We were told by our contractor that we could actually convert the garage into a nice mother-in-law suite, as they call it, and kind of make a nice laundry room in there for an extra $20,000. So I factored that in. It would be everything exactly the same, except our repair estimate goes up. Remember, he said on the top end, $150,000. So I'm adding to that top end another $20,000 to give us 170. And if the repairs were 170, for this house to make us that 15% of our all-in, we would have to buy it at 240 max offer because the repairs are costing more. The closing costs would be, in line with the max offer. Our net purchase would be lower, but that's because the $50,000 missing from here is going to be going into repairs and other stuff. Now, upon leaving because we have our inspector, or rather our contractor, go to the auction with us and run some numbers. Upon leaving, he sent us a house that was about, I think, 2 houses down, that was just listed at almost $900,000. So I decided
that's the 850.
Yeah. So I decided to reevaluate the comps to see what the real ARV would be after repair value for this property if we did it up. He said it was a similar floor plan, mother-in-law suite, 4-bed, 2-bath, whatever. We'd be adding a bathroom even. So with a high comparable of 850 and a low of 630, because that's what it looked like based on what he sent, we get an estimated after repair value of $740,000. It's a big jump. It's a lot more. It's nearly $200,000 more. The repairs would stay the same, and our max offer would go up, about 80 from our original deal. And we'll go over to the side here, and this would make us still about 15%, but because we're selling it for more, it would give you about $100,000.
Yeah, so it's really when you're looking at what you're putting in versus what you
Yeah.
get back, it works out to about the same.
Yeah.
And then there was the curveball option of
Well-
what if we get it
Well,
for ourselves?
we'll get into that right after this, because what happened was that somebody actually bought the auction closed at $460,000. So they ended up paying $506,000 out the door because of the premium, right? Now, for us to beat that bid, we would have had to go about 465, right? So assuming an estimated ARV of 740 with repairs about 170 to get the max of everything, we're going to have to add that mother-in-law suite and make a nice little laundry room and an extra half bath in there. Those repairs at 170, selling it at 740, max offer 465,000 just so we could get it. Our net purchase would be $518,000. That's the max offer with the closing and the buyer premium being $53,000. Now, what happens is you sell it for 740, you've got all these holding costs and repairs, you got to pay $60,000 to your agent because you have closing costs on the selling side. Your all in would be 750. You sold it for you sold it for 740. Your all in cost is 750. We would have been in the red, $10,000.
Yeah.
So, ultimately, this would not have been worth it if we did win the auction. And there, obviously, she'll tell you about how there were emotional buyers, and we were considering maybe scooping this house for us.
Yeah, it was a really nice house. I'm almost convinced that whoever bought it, they bought it to be closer to family. It looked like the typical, what we saw was a lot of grandparents with their kids and like their grandkids around that were like, hey, I want you to move into the neighborhood, because I was eavesdropping and kind of seeing and feeling out the situation. And it was definitely a lot of that. There were definitely other professionals there. You could see the contractors, you could see they were talking about numbers and things like that, but ultimately who bought it, it was for themselves. Now, that doesn't mean that this was a bad investment, because honestly, you could have bought it at 645 and held on to it, and maybe it would keep going up and up and up.
465?
At 465, and put all that money in, and maybe it would be worth it as an investor. Maybe it would be like a hybrid of like, hey, you live in there for years, you really enjoy the property, and then you cash out or not, because you do have like those great lake views.
Yeah.
It would have been very convenient for us, but being that like we had just bought this property, the one that we're at now, a few years ago, for way less money, and it's a very comparable house. We just don't have the lake views, and we don't have that, that garage that we probably need.
The three bay boat garage.
Yeah. So that house actually would have suited us on a personal level, but even on a personal level, for our own like financial purposes, it wouldn't make sense. So I think if you're going to an auction, you need to think about that too. Like, what lifestyle do you want? Is it worth it to potentially go into the hole? Or like, how much are you really going to spend on this thing? Are you going to be there for 5 years or 10 years or 20 years? So like looking at that really big picture, I think is the most important thing, and staying with the really big picture, because I could have easily been swept in and been like, yeah, no, this is going to be it for us. Because I did look at it as like, we could live in there.
We thought about it. We even set a cap at 300. Like maybe we buy it for us. It would be 330 with the premium.
Yeah.
And then you throw 125 on top to make it real nice for us, and it would have been.
I didn't want to spend more than what we paid for this house, basically, because then we would definitely be in the red if we're, we can only sell this house for so much, and then we're going to spend even more money to live over there. Would not be a smart thing to do for us right now.
So the way that works out financially is, if we're moving in there, we obviously are not going to have to pay closing costs for selling this other property at $740,000, but we would have to pay closing costs and capital gains on the property that we are currently in.
Yeah.
Right. So say you get it at 465 say you get it say we did get it at 465 because we would have had to beat this other guy. You spend $170,000 immediately, you're already at 565, 600, you're at $640,000. This house would already put us in the red about $50,000 just to move over there. And then you've got closing costs, which is going to be an additional $40,000, put you in the hole almost 100. And then you have to pay capital gains, which basically puts you in the hole like $120,000. So it would have been a very bad investment for us to try to like move into that house and sell this one.
Yep.
So this was not in the books for us.
Yep. So if you liked that, if you enjoyed that, stick around because there's going to be a lot more of that. I recently had a baby, so we took a pause, but we were back on it. We're going to find something and we're going to walk you through how we're doing these deals and what comes out of it. So hope you like that. Take care.